While both the media and the academic literature focus primarily on male fans, and particularly on violence and the prevention of hooliganism, little is known about female football supporters. This is also true of Denmark, a country that is known for its high degree of gender equality. This article seems to give insight into gender constructions and negotiations of female football fans in this stance, drawing on a social constructivist perspective to gender and Bourdieu's approaches to field capital and habitus. We explored the experiences and opinions on female fans. The methods employed were stadium observation as well as qualitative guideline-based interviews with female supporters of three different clubs. The observations and interview revealed that traditional gender norms, prejudices and sexism are widespread in the fan stands and are often accepted and trivialized by the female fans themselves. Female fans have to comply with specific rules of conduct in the stadium where masculine behavior for both male and female supporters is regarded as an ideal fan behavior. However, there is also space for gender negotiations as long as female supporters display neither hypermasculinity nor emphasized femininity in their gender performances. Female fans do not only comply with and reproduce the rules of conduct in the stadium, but also apply different forms of resistance against gender and the domination of men in this stadium. Multiple sclerosis is a common and severe CNS disorder that is characterized by myelin loss, chronic inflammation, axonal and oligometric pathology, and progressive neurological dysfunction. Extensive epidemiological data confirm that genetic variation is an important determinant of susceptibility to MS and suggest that such variation also influences the timing of symptom onset, the course of the disease and the treatment response. Multi-center international collaborations have allowed large and well-characterized sample collections to be assembled that, when coupled with high-powered laboratory technology, afford the opportunity to analyze the genome with increasing resolution and detail. The 7 MS genome associations that have been completed in the past 3 years have substantially lengthened the list of genetic risk reasons. Nevertheless, our knowledge of MS genetic remains incomplete, with many risk alleles still to be revealed, although progress is likely to be rapid in the near future. The ensuing challenge will be to design effective functional studies that convincingly link genetic variations to the underlying pathology of MS. So, what can be seen from the picture? So, let us see the first one. So, are these objects rotating or static? So, it depends upon how the observation can be done or how the vision can be. So, it is purely based on one's approach or the way they are able to see things. And if you constantly watch at the picture, there is a possibility that you have a feeling that the wheels are rotating, and either it can be left to right or right to left depending on one's approach or how people look at it, and whether it is in a standstill position, even that can be seen, or with the closed eyes, and if you are able to open the eyes and look at it, maybe it will have a movement, and with the direct eyes stared at it, it will have a different status. So, are these objects rotating or static or idle? So, as per the view or with what way it is being looked at, so the variation can be understood. Similar with the next picture, like what do you see? So, here you can see at least dual approaches to the picture. One can be an old lady or like a witch just bowing down the head. The other one, a young lady, is trying to look at the right hand side as her eyes turned up towards the right hand side, and the same picture is trying to give a different look that a old lady is trying to look at the floor. So, next one, it looks like a tree without leaves or a tree with where only branches can be seen. The same thing can be ascertained with a lot of leaders' faces appearing in the branches of the tree or attached to the tree. Right from the bottom to the top, if you see, great leaders' faces being drawn, and the front part of the faces can be seen as a sketch. The other way, it could be the tree where its leaves are missing, or only the branches could be seen as leaves have fallen. Some individuals would attribute their underachievement to external factors rather to their own making. So you have your 4 referral grades, and why did you perform poorly in your exams? So it's an attribution bias. The other way of attitude is, wow, you passed your exams in flying colors. 5 distinctions, explain the reasons for your success. So some individuals would attribute their achievement solely to their own making as attribution bias, similar to the previous one. And so everything is based on a factor affecting perception. So the perceiver, the perceived object, and the context. So these 3 elements play an important role as far as the notion is concerned, or how things are being perceived and how things are being looked out. So when we are not focused, or when we are not trying to show the exact way with which things has to be overlooked or things has to be seen, accordingly the outcome can be the result, and what is expected from such things by way of observation. So that will lead to the outcome, and whether it can be positive or negative as the case may be. So have you been in a situation at work where colleagues perceived an issue differently from you, or a problem to which your colleague's interpretation is completely different from yours? What could have accounted for the difference in interpretation or perspective? So it is like an internal politics or internal understanding within an organization or a department, and where some sort of perseverance leading to misunderstanding or misconclusion, and how the problem can be ascertained or solved, how the problem can be solved by way of wrong interpretation, or interpretation which is entirely different from the other person's perspective, and what steps are being taken or how you account for the difference in interpretation to narrow down the difference or the widened gap. So that could be the approach as far as the manager is concerned, or the employee of an organization is concerned, if they wanted to maintain or develop the rapport between individuals, or the cordial relationship between people, to have a smooth flow of business or job within an organization. So organizational influences, as we have seen in detail, the organizational influences are factors outside the individual but inside the organization, that how a person gets affected by acts, feels, and what being thought or things at work. So organizational influence can be by various factors, which includes teams, leadership, organizational culture, organizational structure, interpersonal relationships, physical workplace design, and job characteristics. So at least 7 factors that play a major role as far as organizational influence is concerned, which we have already discussed in this topic in detail. So maybe to summarize a few, so how organizational influences in team, so it depends upon the characteristics and attitude of people within the team, irrespective of the numbers, so that influence the outcome of the job that is being undertaken, or it has an impact on the leader who leads the team. Next is leadership. So the leadership style, what sort of leadership one possesses, whether it is a democratic style of functioning or autocratic style of functioning or a mix of both. So that really has an influence in the organizational activities or organizational development. Next is organizational culture. So every organization has a certain culture which pertains to the location or the place where it is present, and accordingly the culture of people has an impact within the organization. Next is organizational structure. So organization structure also makes an influence as far as a job is concerned. So what sort of structure is being maintained? So either it starts from the CEO or the senior chief executive of the organization or the managing director of organization, followed by subsequent levels, and that is treated as a organizational structure. Next concern interpersonal relationships. So interpersonal relationships are very important or vital, so that things can happen without any confusion or things can happen without any major quarrel within that team. Next comes physical workplace design. So how the physical workplace design is structured, or how it is being designed or framed, so that has an influence in the organizational functionality. So these are all certain elements that determines the influential part of the organization. And last but not the least is the job characteristics. So the characteristics that one possesses as far as an organization or a departmental role is concerned, so that also equal role in playing the importance of organizational influence.